Some people don't just believe things will get better. They act like they were born to survive the storm. The narrator's voice sinks into a deep, calm rhythm. There is something uniquely compelling about people who stay optimistic, even when the world around them feels hard, unpredictable, or outright cruel. They face the same disappointments as everyone else. They lose, they break, they fall apart, but somehow, something inside them refuses to collapse. The question rises, what gives them that strength? Why do some humans stay hopeful when others lose their fire? If you had this mindset, what part of your life would transform first? Comment your thoughts below. Optimism is often misunderstood. People think it's just a personality trait, or a habit, or some natural positivity that only a few lucky people are born with. But psychological research says something very different. Optimism, in its deepest form, is a mental framework of filter through which the mind processes reality. It shapes how the brain interprets stress, how it handles uncertainty, how it reacts to setbacks, how it predicts the future. Optimistic people don't deny pain, they just don't let it become the final chapter. They hold a belief quiet, steady, and powerful that life moves forward. And that movement alone is enough fuel for hope. Some develop this mindset through supportive families. They learned early that mistakes weren't fatal. Tomorrow always brings another chance. That life has room for improvement if you have patience. But many optimists learn this mindset in a darker, more painful way. They built hope because they didn't have another choice. For some, optimism became survival. A way to endure a childhood filled with instability. A way to rebuild after failures that nearly destroyed them. A way to cope with loneliness, loss, or environments where negativity was the norm. To these people, optimism wasn't a luxury. It was oxygen. They trained their minds to search for the one open window in a room full of closed doors. They taught themselves not to panic when life slows down. They developed emotional endurance, something far stronger than motivation or momentary positivity. And strangely, psychology often mirrors the mindset of people who operate in high-risk environments, like Jesse Livermore, a man whose entire life depended on emotional discipline. Livermore didn't call himself an optimist, but his philosophy reveals something interesting. He believed the future was not chaotic. It was patterned, predictable in its unpredictability. Full of opportunities, but only for those who stayed mentally steady. To him, optimism wasn't about ignoring danger. It was about understanding it well enough to survive it. He once said, "The real secret is to sit tight." People lose because they cannot sit. Optimistic people function the same way in life. They don't jump to conclusions. They don't treat hardships as permanent. They don't assume the worst outcome. Instead, they settle into the moment. They wait, they watch. Trust that a better point in the timeline is forming if they cannot see it yet. This psychological patience is rare and extremely powerful. Optimistic people have a unique ability to recover. Their brain resets faster after emotional hits. They don't stay stuck in negative spirals as long. And because they expect improvement, they subconsciously move toward behaviors that create it. Their optimism becomes action. Action becomes results. Results reinforce the mindset. It becomes a cycle of psychological strength. But beneath this strength, there's a hidden truth, one almost no one sees. Optimists carry a secret burden. Because when you are the hopeful one, people lean on you. People expect you to stay positive. People depend on your light to brighten their own darkness. And this creates a silent pressure. Optimistic people break too. They feel overwhelmed. They question themselves. They get tired of being the strong one in the room. But they break quietly. They don't show it. They don't collapse in public. They choose to fall apart in private tree build, and then return with the same steady face the world recognizes. It is not that their life is easier. It's that their attitude makes it survivable, and that mindset becomes their identity. The narrator pause is letting the weight of this truth sink in. Optimistic people aren't naive. They're strategic, emotionally intelligent, and wired to believe that darkness is temporary. This is why they succeed more, recover faster, and remain emotionally stable in chaos. They aren't escaping reality. They're choosing which part of reality deserves their energy, and that choice becomes their superpower. This is the psychology the world overlooks. It's the psychology that turns ordinary people into pillars of resilience. The psychology that keeps them standing when others have already given up. In the end, Optimism isn't about predicting a better future. It's about refusing to surrender to the present.